The Jersey Swap podcast is sponsored by Apollo Home. Sadly, FC Cincinnati season has come to an end, but the heating season is just starting. If you have any concerns about your HVAC system, or if you have any plumbing or electrical needs, give Apollo Home a call, shoot them a text, or book an appointment online at apollohome.com. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jersey Swap. Apologies for last week. Mr. No Days Off unfortunately got hit with a pretty bad cold bug right before the MLS Cup and World Cup draw. Had to call in sick last week. I had some guests in mind, but luckily that didn't pan through either. So I think we all needed a break after the debacle that was the end of the FC Cincinnati season. Some may feel ill after seeing Miami win the MLS Cup as well, handily against Vancouver. So the 2025 season finally comes to an end with a predictable result, let's say. But what can we piece together from this fractured season and fix it for the 2026 season? We are bringing in our good friend. You might not have seen him in a while. Definitely a good friend of the CST, our stats guru, Nate Gilman. Nate, let's bring you out and unmute you. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. It has been a little bit, but happy to be back on a CST property where I think made a debut. I don't even know how many years ago it was.
Yeah, you were working with Coach all those years ago, doing some of the little bits that we had in our podcasts as well from yesteryear. It's great to see you doing well. Sometimes I know a lot of us fall off the map, but you've been active with us in our Slack as well.
Yeah, probably too active, I think, in any number of communities talking about FC Cincinnati too much. So it's still occupying definitely too much of my brain. But I think that's probably the case for a lot of people. So I'm in good company.
We all deal with it constructively. And in your case, you've done something really well, I think, to help us process and maybe cope with the dementia that comes with a 2025 postseason. Can you give us maybe some small talk on what you've been doing since we last heard from you?
Yeah, pardon me. Yeah, pardon me if you've heard it before, but I've launched a Substack, which is, I think, the first time I've said that out loud, and it's just as embarrassing as I thought it would be. But it's called Preseason Streams. And if you're interested in what we talk about over the next, 30 minutes, subscribe. It'd be great. Fell off a little bit in the second half of the season. Life just got in the way, but gearing up for an off season of I think we'll get to this, like a really important off season for FC Cincinnati moving forward in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, this will be, I think, probably more important than last year, just because we have the pieces in place. Now we have to figure out, what we can do to enhance those pieces. I think a lot of us felt that 2025 was going to be a reconstructive season, whether that meant it would be much lower in the standings that they finished, or dare we say, even with something like a cup falling in our hands. But you have been sort of giving us some analysis through your Substack. Maybe we can just go over what some of your overall assessment has brought up.
Yeah, so I think the really 30,000-foot view here, and kind of the main thesis that I've been working towards, or is becoming clearer to me, is something that the eye test of fans, certainly me, and a lot of the advanced numbers agree with, and that's that FC Cincinnati was not a particularly good team in 2025. They won a lot of games, and this is kind of the like where to understand these differences. Like the results were great, but the process was not. And I think we felt that every week. Like everything felt hard. Results did, scoring goals. Like if you were thinking back on a game, at least I did, it's more like we really got away with one there. Good thing they won, kind of en route to a 1-0 win or a 1-goal win, without dominating. And I think we think that the talent level is high, and I think we've heard that from national pundits and elsewhere, and I think that's generally true. But something happened, and the team just like did not play that well. the team had a negative expected goals margin. The first time in Pat Noonan and Chris Albright's era in charge of FC Cincinnati. Like usually they haven't really had the seasons that are among the league's best. They've been up there for the first 3 years, but this year was like a really major step back, and like finishing with unexpected goals, kind of in line with a fringe playoff contender, if that, just because the MLS playoffs are so big. So I mean that's not somewhere you want to be, and I think this is like kind of importantly a place that maybe more traditional watchers and people who are more familiar or dig kind of the analytics, where they can meet kind of halfway and be like, yes, I think the XG of the season is descriptive, and like you know exactly what it is. It's like they didn't play very well, and their opponents generated more quality chances than they did across the year, and that's reflected in this number. And I think a lot of FC Cincinnati fans, I hope, would be willing to admit that giving up more chances than you create is not a good way to live, and is not going to be sustainable in the long run.
I really think that if you look at the second finish that they had, the top two finish that they had, I think a lot of it was the ceiling coming down, to be honest. I mean, this was one of the lowest point totals for a Shield winner in years. Nobody got over 70 points. It felt like a lot of it was smushed. You had a strata at the top where the top 5, 7 in the East could have easily been the number one had they won 2 wins where losses had come. So it definitely felt like there was much more compact. And I think that encouraged negative XG differentials to sort of come to the surface a little bit. I think we saw that with FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, and like they got lucky in a lot of games. And on the bright side, the goalkeepers played pretty well. They weren't like the best in the league at shot stopping, but they were pretty good. They had a top 10 season, which definitely papers over some of those cracks. And offensively, which I have not gotten to in the post yet, so I'm forgive me if any readers if my stances have changed in the next week before I publish another entry on this. But they're really reliant. They're really reliant on individual brilliance, and often that came down to Evander shots from outside the box that just happened to go in. And I looked at this earlier in the season because I was curious, and like he was literally on like a 1-to-1, like a best in MLS, in the last like 6 years run in scoring from outside the box. It was just like an absurd number of well, he was taking an absurd number of shots, but a huge number of those were going in. And at some point, they stopped going in, which is not terribly surprising. As good as he is, and I think I am probably receptive to the idea that an Evander shot from like a bad XG location is more valuable than kind of the baseline, but not that much more valuable. Like you're never turning like a 2% chance into a 15% chance from there. So I think kind of that luck regressed in one way. I think the team offensively ultimately started to play a little bit better. Like Brenner was a big shot in the arm, and Shanike was. But ultimately, I think the kind of just like too many round pieces in square holes, however that idiom goes. And I think they just never figured out a way to put people in really good positions to succeed.
I totally agree with that. But I do see this was a step up from last year when I think all the square pegs were in the round holes. And you could tell that was frustrating someone like Lucho Acosta, who really depended on the talent around him. And to be honest, that's really what we were looking at with this FC Cincinnati season. We were going from Lucho ball to question mark ball. You didn't really know who was going to be the person pulling the strings. Yes, Evander has brilliance, but I also want to sort of wonder a little bit about if a team had played Evander and then came back and played him a second time, how many of those games do they figure him out? Did they say, okay, he likes to fire from far distance. We know how to handle that now. And I think perhaps that's a way that Miami was able to figure things out and push him to his zone, the way that Columbus was able to figure it out and push him to his zone. So it really felt like you were going from someone who was able to distribute and depend on the others to finish things, than for someone to finish it before he distributed.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, all of this season should be with the caveat that this team was built to win with Lucho Acosta. Whether or not that was the right move, especially after the season after the 2024 season ended, and he said he didn't want to be in Cincinnati. Whether there should have been different moves made at that time rather than going through part of an offseason without kind of knowing who your 10 was going to be entering 2025. I mean, hindsight's 2020 there. And the move to get Evander, I mean, he was available and I think is a talented player. He's just different than Lucho Acosta. So I think that manifested itself across a multitude of issues with FC Cincinnati. I think we'll get to it, or I'll get to it next week, but they had a lot of trouble moving the ball up the field, something that Lucho Acosta somehow did a lot of, and Lucho Acosta also received the ball up the field a lot. So just like that dynamism in midfield, Evander's just not that player. He does other things well, but he's not Lucho Acosta. Lucho Acosta is kind of a one of one player in MLS, and having a roster built around kind of accentuating that is clearly didn't work out with Evander, but I think will require some pretty hard thinking from the front office about what they actually want this team to do in 2026 and how to make this team play better. Because I mean, I think we talked about just like the overall XG, but like the defense took a major step back. Went from one of the best, if not the best, defenses in the league, according to the advanced numbers, to like a below average one. And a lot of the personnel is the same. And I also looked, to see if something fell off when Matt Miazga got hurt. But he didn't look great this season either when he was healthy. And then after he went out, it was kind of business as usual with the defense. And I think a big piece of that is just they didn't have a plan to keep, or they were, not that they didn't have a plan, they were unable to keep opposing teams from having the ball in dangerous areas. And that's like a pretty, I mean, I would assume you could show soccer to an alien and be like, how do I prevent my opponent from scoring? And they'd be like, don't let them touch it in the box. That's pretty simple, but like FC Cincinnati allowed a lot more box touches from its opponents and touches in the final third. So whatever happened, the defensive foundation that Pat Noonan has built in the first couple of years, at least according to the advanced numbers, and then we'll get into just how weird this season was, because they allowed all these touches and then somehow opponents scored 8 fewer goals, which is just I mean, it's great and lucky and ended up with a second place season, but I wouldn't feel comfortable and don't feel comfortable being like, okay, this team is the exception to the rule based on, thousands of seasons that we've seen across soccer. So like, I don't think FC Cincinnati is somehow built different in that way. Like, they are not the outliers here. I think the team got a lot of lucky breaks this year. And like I said, the shot stopping was good, which papers over some cracks. And then you had like a once in a lifetime season from Evander finishing them from outside the box, and you win a lot of 1-0 games. But I think like I said, to like get back to the larger thesis of my thoughts of the offseason, it's like this team cannot be complacent just because they finished second, because I think a lot of the foundation is at least of how they played, is not sturdy. And we
Yeah.
shouldn't expect to see this happen again next year.
The Jersey Swap podcast is also sponsored by Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. Yeah, I'm going to add to the stage this graph that you had provided. Every year that FC Cincinnati has been in MLS, you've actually been tracking
Yeah.
exactly what our overall XG is. And for those that are watching online, or I should say listening and not watching online, the pink line that you see in the middle, right in the middle, that is this season, and it is not going up, it's going down compared to the first 3 seasons that Noonan had. That means that basically, yeah, like you had said, the XG has been negative. That they've been allowing more goals to go in than the ones that they're trying to produce. And you seem to draw this chart pretty finely.
Yeah, I think that tells the kind of the story of how the season felt. Except for like maybe like during the 90 minutes, how the season felt. I mean, it's one of those like, oh, we played bad but won. So like, after the game and the week after feels great, but yeah, I just the team just didn't play up to the same level that we've seen Pat Noonan teams play previously.
And not to mention, and this requires just more of an eye test, not more of a qualitative than a quantitative thing. We saw our losses looking really damaging. These 4-1 losses to Philadelphia, these losses to DC at home, the losses to Charlotte, they looked pretty damaging by themselves. And when we won, it was the skin of our teeth. Like we've been saying, it's good to be lucky, but if we're lucky 18 times out of 22, that's not sustainable, especially when you go into the playoffs.
Yeah, especially against better teams. And I think part of there's another somebody created it on Blue Sky, and I'm blanking on the name, but it's linked in the first post I did on the offseason. So go check it out and follow whoever did it. FC Cincinnati had like a negative expected goals difference when they were trailing and when they were leading, which is not a good way to live as a soccer team. So, and like, again, I think that is backed up with like what we saw on the field. FC Cincinnati, if they go down a goal, like they did twice in the playoffs, games can get out of hand pretty quickly. And then when chasing a goal, they just didn't really have the ability to break down a team that wasn't interested in attacking or was more interested in bunkering down and staying behind the ball for whatever reason. I can offer some theories that I think are true, but yeah, I mean, basically it comes down to that, and the people at Mercy Health Training Center are a lot smarter about this stuff than me, and I'm sure these conversations are happening, and what they're going to do to remedy the issues in 2026. But I will be fascinated to see what their answers are.
Yeah, I'm bringing up the image that you had been talking about. This was from Tony L. Haber from Blue Sky. Very mystifying numbers if you really look at it. Basically, this graph is showing the time that the teams are leading, tied, and trailing, but the deeper numbers are showing the overall XG differential. And as you had been mentioning, FC Cincinnati not only had a negative differential when they were leading and trailing, they barely had a 0 differential when they weren't, when they were right in the middle. So they were, teetering on the precipice here. Of all the teams that when they were trailing, you didn't want to have a 0.7 minus number in XG differential when you're hoping to catch a team that is now leading 4-0 against you.
Yeah, yeah. It's just more evidence that this team was, I don't know, fine, but not second place quality.
Yeah. So maybe we could. It's going to be hard in off season to really figure out what pieces go in place. But can we maybe get some initial ideas in terms of how we can start to apply the band-aids to this team? How to put this eggshell back together?
I think I've been pretty vocal throughout the season and post, and probably will be next week too. That this team just needs some more passing everywhere. So
Mhm.
they need more ball progression, so more passing from the defensive half into the final third, and then they need um, more danger in the final third too. I think everybody talks about kind of like when are Evander and Kevin Denke gonna, like, when are they going to gel? That's been the question all season, and I don't think that's really, like, it would be great if they had be great if Evander found a way to, assist five Denke goals or something in
Mhm.
open play. But like, if you think back to the season when Brandon Vasquez really blew up, and Brenner had his great season too. A lot of the assists coming to Vasquez came from Alvaro Barreal.
That's true. Yeah.
Um, like, the most dangerous spot you can be on the soccer field with the ball is right in front of the box in zone 14, as they call it. So, and like, that's where your 10 is generally going to have it in the final third.
Mhm.
So they need some more guys who can offer danger, either from wide, and I'm not advocating just like whipping crosses in, but like getting into the cutback zones, to find Denke in space, kind of between the six and the penalty spot. He scored a couple goals like that this year, but they need some more guys um, who can create danger in the final third. And with the
Yeah.
way that Pat Noonan has set this team up, and Chris Albright built it last offseason, you were asking, at least at the beginning of the season, you were asking Lucas Engel and DeAndre Yedlin, two fullbacks who had never really done that in any of the leagues, at least that we have data for. And they were supposed to be your, like, wide creative players. And obviously that didn't really work. And the offense stagnated. But finding some fullbacks, wingbacks who can attack, um, and then getting, you know, more contributions out of whoever's playing next to Pavel Buka is vital, if they're going to continue to play with three center backs. Just because if you're playing with two wingbacks who aren't dangerous in the final third, and two center backs who can't pass forward really, and a defensive midfielder who can't pass forward, that's how you get Evander having to drop deep and not really having anybody to pass the ball to. So I think that is kind of, at least right now, and I reserve the right to change my opinion before I publish something next week. But I think that's kind of where I land on what needs to change going forward.
I think in general there needs to be just more danger with, like you had said, there needs to be more danger within the box. I'm trying to bring this up right now, but honestly, I don't think that FCC was very high in terms of penalties assessed to them. And this goes in a few different ways. I don't feel we took a lot of them, which means that I don't think we were dangerous within the box to encourage a foul. And also, when game one came around, I I remember Denke taking his kick, and I'm like, hmm, usually this is where Acosta would take his kicks, and I'm like, Evander's not taking his kick. I was kind of surprised. I thought Evander had been a penalty kick taker, but uh, the fact that he didn't, the fact that it was mostly Denke's role, kind of surprised me. So
Yeah,
those
I think
those numbers seem to really stick out to me.
he scored them all though, right?
True, he scored them
Yeah,
all, but at the same
yeah,
time,
and
I don't remember him having a lot.
yeah, no, I think what you hit on is exactly right. It's like you're going to get fewer penalties called when you have the ball in the box less. And I think that
Mhm.
was the issue this year. They just really struggled to create dangerous situations where a defender might be forced to, make a bad challenge or get hit in the arm or some other penalty offense, just because they didn't consistently move the ball into the box.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can figure out sort of whether it's a personnel change or maybe even an overall pattern change. Maybe it is time to see if we have one person up top and start getting wingers into place. That definitely would. It would appeal to Orishano. It would appeal to Echenike. And it would start, I think, making your attack a little bit more dangerous.
I would love to see that too. Yeah. And that would require you to, I think they'd have to go out and sign a couple fullbacks this year.
Yeah.
But as kind of the Lucas Engel contract stuff was going on, like, will they or won't they pick up an option? And I think they made the right decision, by the way. Like, great vibes. Some good moments, but like not a top 5 MLS fullback like he was being paid.
No.
The kind of the Pat Noonan system that we've seen succeed has been predicated upon having like a kind of a unicorn attacker at one of the wingback spots, like those Barreal seasons where he yes, he played wingback, but he did a lot of other weird, interesting stuff from that spot. Like, he was kind of the team's third attacker. Yeah. He'd come central, he'd play wide, he'd do a bunch of stuff, and had obviously a great relationship with Lucho, and was technically able to combine at the top of the box and break down opposing defenses that way. But without that, like, Luca Orejano like flashed kind of doing that, but he's a different player. And I think figuring out a way to be more sustainable and not have to like find an exact fit for your second most important attacking spot, left wing back, seems like more sustainable in the long run to me. Like I said, I was looking through the kind of the compensation for MLS fullbacks and wingbacks, and Engel was paid near the top. There's a lot of value. Like, if you have to go out and find kind of average fullback play, it's like doable in this league, and for not a ton of money. So I think if we see Chris Albright go out and sign some like real fullbacks, which could indicate a shift to a 4 at the back setup, I would be excited. But kind of based on some of the offseason moves we've seen so far, I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I don't know really who's going to be out there in terms of free agency or even transfer market that would really, fit the need that they have at those locations, especially if they're not going to have as much as they think that they have in the financial tank. But I mean, they surprised us last year with all these big signings. They can surprise us again. I don't know how easy it's going to be when you've got expenses in the back, like Teenage Hedebe and Miazga coming back, as well as with Robinson on his big DP contract now. It's going to be interesting to see really how they can balance that out and still have a fullback available to play.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody loves to spend every available dollar of GAM more than Chris Albright, I don't know who it is, but so yeah, we'll see. But we have a couple months before they report to preseason camp, and I'm sure a lot of moves will be coming. But
we already have the silly season underway. I mean, Tom Bogert's probably siphoning coffee and have three phones strapped to his ears, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it is the wacky season, and unfortunately, that is the time of the season where all of our play is done for the year. Now, you said that you have a third Substack installment coming in. Can you give us a little preview of that?
Yeah, it's just so the first one was just kind of general takeaways, and the second one was more focusing on defensive issues. And the third will be what happened when FC Cincinnati had the ball. So I think it'll be a lot of conversation about or a lot of writing about how many players on FC Cincinnati love to dribble, ball progression, probably some more about Evander's really generational shooting from distance season. And I don't know, that's kind of one of the things that I've enjoyed about doing this is you never exactly know where a piece is going to go. So I'm kind of over the next week, I'm aiming to publish, probably next Wednesday, so the 17th. I'll just be digging in and seeing what I find and what's interesting, and I feel like I'm always surprised by something. So if I'm not mentioning it, it's not because I'm holding it back, but it's because I don't know it yet.
Well, that I really honestly can't wait to unwrap that underneath my Christmas tree or Exclamanor or whatever holiday you celebrate coming up here. I do want to thank you for your time, at least deconstructing the 2025 season and making it, I think, a little bit more into the acceptance part of we're away from denial. We're into accepting this grief that we've had this season, and the numbers seem to justify it. If we want to see more numbers from you, where can we find the Substack that we're looking for?
Yeah, it's preseason streams, .substack.com, I think. And the only social media platform I'm on is Blue Sky. So NR Gilman, Gilman at Blue Sky, whatever is at the end of the handles. But if you type that in, you'll find me.
Whatever the suffix is.
Yeah.
But we want to thank you for your time and expertise. I mean, I think you dive into these a little deeper than a lot of us do. We have Coach who just gives us, how he would play a game. And after the game, you help us digest it. We really appreciate everything that you've helped us with at CST this year.
Yeah, no, it's been great to be back. And I'll be, bothering you in the CST Slack before you know it.
Well, we're not quite done this year. We do have one more episode coming up. That's a secret. No one's going to be telling that just yet. But if you want to listen to more of our stuff, you can head over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Check out our written coverage, our podcasts. Go to our YouTube station. We've got the live show that's just finished up for the year, but we have it all recorded in space. Go to your favorite podcasting platform. You'll be able to listen to the Jersey Swap, all of the archives that we've gotten for this year. We will be back next year as well. We did renew our extended contract. So if you want to listen to more of it, if you want to let us know how well we've done on it, please let us know that as well on our social media profiles at Cincy Soccer Talk. We're on X, we're on Blue Sky as well. We're on Instagram for all of you all as well. So one more week and we will get it done. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Mr. Nate Gilman, on behalf of everybody who has gotten through this 2025 season, thank you very much for keeping your kit clean, and we will go another 90 minutes with you once again.